Hey, Dave LaCalle with HeadGames Motorworks. Today we're going to discuss going over that Coyote. We started a couple weeks ago and now we are going to sand it. Check it out. All right, so what we're going to use for sanding this, we are going to do 3/4. There's a 3/4 inch 60 grit roll and a 1/2 inch 60 grit roll. And we have these mandrels. And the mandrels, you'll see one is longer than the other. And all I did was just cut this one down. I get everything at 6 inches and I just cut down to whatever I need because I just don't want to be married to whatever they give me. We're also going to use these handy rolls. Now, handy roll comes in a big ass roll, and I just cut these to length. To use the handy roll, I used a 1/4 inch prop rod I got from Home Depot. I cut that also to length. I make these a little bit longer, as you can see. So this is about 4 inches, so it's probably about 6 inches, and then it goes inside here. I'm using a Coyote grinder. So I take the prop rod and I round off the top. I cut a slit in the center here. See that? Cut a slit in the center, and that is so I can put this in here. Magic doozy. And look at that. Now we have our own roll. Starting with the short turn because I want to blend everything into it. So I'm going to hit it from this side and from the port side, and then I can just cartridge roll all around it. So I want to speak about leverage here. Now, leverage, what I mean is I keep this long because I want to be able to go back as far as I can. You see how it's pretty far back. So you guys who buy all those cheap tools and they're like 2 inches long and you wonder why your stuff can't come out right, and it's because you can't get back far enough. So the more you can get back on both ends, the better it's going to be. And when I say that, I mean just on the short turns. That is a very important thing to have the leverage. All right, guys, so what you can see here is I sanded it up to this point right here. Now, we're doing that really because we don't want to use a roll on the short turn, because if I use a roll on the short turn, it's going to square it. And I don't want to square it. I want to keep it a nice round short turn. So we just sand up to here, and now we can just blend all that in, and it makes it nicey nice. Sanding, obviously I just did the short turn. I'm going to do the short turn first, and then we're going to do the bowl. We're going to do the bowl as far back as we can get it, and then we blend it in through the port. What I did here. So what I'm doing is, now this is one finger. Actually, I'm only using my thumb, or I guess I have to use two fingers. This is the way it goes naturally. So you don't want to go up here. You don't want to be getting crazy. And I do everything in sections. And I do it in sections so that way it stays uniform. So I'll do one wall, do one wall, do the other wall, do the other wall, and then do the center. Sometimes, or most of the time, I'll do all of the walls, but we're not doing that here. I'll do all one wall, do all the centers, do all that. I do it very, very uniform. And that's how you get that bling. So two things here. One, you notice that I did the floor first, and I'm doing the floor first because I want to keep the shape. Always do the floor first as much as you can, get the floor done. And the other thing is, you'll notice that I only hit this centerpiece right at the end. And that is because if you were to sit here and sand this, do you see what happens? Can you guys see it? So what you would do is you would hump this, basically, and not in that way. But I'm saying you would mess it all up, and now you would have a hump here, and you'd have to try to get the hump out. You just want that nice crisp line of the divider, and you don't want to have to like reshape this whole circle. When you're doing stuff, my opinion is I always rough sand it in, and you can see there is not a line straight on this thing anywhere. Biggest thing you have to do is get the marks out, and then you can move into making it look pretty. One thing I want you to notice is how much of the roll I used doing that. You see how it's all up here? If you look at where, the farthest down is right there, right? So it's important to note to never use back here. So if you start seeing marks in this area, you know that you need to change your angle, and that's what I was talking about before, is you have to show your leverage, and you want to make sure that you're only using the top part of the roll. So now we're going to switch back to the flapper to do the short turns on the intake. So I sanded it to back here. And this means that we don't have to hit it from the other side because we can go back far enough here and just blend it in with the roll. We're going to switch back to a cartridge roll, and I'm going to take this 1/2" deal off, and I'm going to put the 3/4 on. 3/4 is going to be faster, and it's going to keep the shape a lot easier. All right, so I have to switch back over to the 1/2" cartridge roll because I can't go. This is just a tight radius is too much for the big burr or the big cartridge roll. But I wanted to show you something here. This is why I use the big one. You can see the radius is pretty much right on, and this way you can keep the shape and keep all your radiuses intact, and you don't have to work so hard. When you're using a smaller cartridge roll, that might become a problem. And you know what they say? Work harder. Nope. Work smarter, not harder. Now that we got all the marks out, we are ready to make it look good. Now, the CNC doesn't really care if it looks good to digitize. That is just a me thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the grinder down to a slower speed, and then I'm just going to go over it, and you do one section at a time. You put all your marks in on one direction, and then everything will come out nice. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I'll show you the finished product. She's done. Come look. Now it's all sanded up, ready for guides. We're going to flow test it. You can see the intake. We got our fin here and our fin here. We got rid of the guide boss, as you can see in the stock one. Check out the stock one. So we went from this to this. Same deal on the exhaust. Now I did a 120 grit on the exhaust. Yes, I did not need to do this for CNC, but I'm just anal. We got rid of the guide bosses, made some fins. You can see it in the stock port. See the stock port, she's an ugly bird. And now, we looking nicey nice. All right, that does it for us today. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Toodles.